Today's show is brought to you by Manscaped, the leaders in below the waistline grooming, since it was on the screen right there. And with that being the case, Deke, let's make sure that we're taking care of our balls this fall. I know it's holiday season. I know you're thinking about that turkey. I love stuffing. But more importantly, Deke, we got to make sure that we keep our lower below the waistline regions looking like dessert, more importantly. And the best way to do that is with that Performance Package 4.0. So you definitely want to check that out and use the promo code, which is MOATS. 20% off, along with free shipping worldwide at manscaped.com.
The 11 trade was tough, but I'm okay with him getting a featured role in Chicago. This move was big for our identity on offense because now there is no need to press with 3 wide receiver sets. Kenny still has plenty of options. Rooting for 11.
Now, we could talk about this here trade. First off, I guess, what was your reaction to the trade, bro?
Pissed. I was not cool with it for all the reasons
we had talked about,
weeks leading up to a potential Claypool trade. I want Kenny to have all the receivers in his arsenal, all the resources on offense that he possibly would have for the second half of the season. I still think the Steelers are in the mix, despite what a lot of people are thinking out there. I think we can go on a run in the second half. And trading your wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3, depending on the day, for a draft pick that you're not going to utilize till next year, I don't think helps the Steelers win. This is all on the surface, right? And I didn't think we had to rush it because I don't think Claypool's trade value was going to go down that much in the offseason.
Correct, because we could trade him during the offseason.
No matter what,
yes.
I get, because I thought this through. I do think his trade value would go down because then draft picks would be slotted, and if a team's looking for a receiver, they're probably just thinking, all right, we'll draft one in the first or second round.
Okay.
I get that. I don't think it's going to be worse than a third rounder, though,
Okay.
because Claypool's still 6'4", 240 pounds, and has proven productivity. Whereas if you draft a receiver, you don't know what you're getting out of that. So for all those reasons, I was not really fond of the trade. I just didn't think we really needed to do it right now. We could have traded him in the offseason.
Okay.
But things flipped.
No, fair enough. And we're going to get to the second part. I just want to stay on the first part right here, so I'm with you on that. For me, man, my initial reaction was very similar to yours. I was slightly confused because he has been a part of this offense, and you talk about the past 2 games, specifically past 3 games, he's been a major part of this offense in terms of some of the catches he's been able to do, some of the stuff he's been doing, just in terms of helping move the ball along. I mean, he threw a touchdown pass for crying out loud. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you've seen his uptick in productivity, and that was also part of the reason why, you know, we were talking about keeping him to see what this could really look like, how this could potentially, what it could grow into. And obviously, we also talked about just from a pricing standpoint, he's still cheap on a rookie deal. You still had the rest of this season and all of next season where you controlled his rights, so you didn't feel the pressure of a contract necessarily either. Now, granted, that could have changed, like how it was with Deontay this time a year ago.
I think it would have. He probably would have been looking for a
Right.
second contract. But that's when you could talk about the trade.
Absolutely.
Talk about it in the offseason.
Yeah,
then.
but he would have also had to have been a lot more productive down the stretch, which would have helped us
True.
out either way and helped Kenny out. So initially, I'm thinking about that. And I'm also thinking about how he's been helping out Kenny in the slot, in that safety valve, what he's been able to do, so to speak. And now I'm like, okay, granted, George Pickens is, I think, going to be a better player, but they're not using him the way that they're using Claypool right now. So I really wasn't the most excited about that. And obviously after that, I was like, okay, what direction are we about to go in? Is this about to be a fire sale type situation, and we're going to move a Cam Hayward, we're going to move a Najee, we're going to move a Evans, or is it going to be something different? Are we firing coaches? Like, it was a lot on the table when that trade first happened, but then obviously we saw another trade happen a little bit later that kind of changed my mindset and helped me feel a lot more comfortable with the situation. But I do like this move for Chase for a couple of reasons. Number one, a change of scenery, man. Coming to Pittsburgh, it's not the easiest place to play. We talk about how passionate the fan base is. It's a gift and a curse at times, man. When they love you, they love you. But as we talk about the TikTokers, right?
Yeah.
How at times that wasn't always received with love. And at times, anything that he would do after that, it was going to always be a little bit more hypercritical. Things that he could say in other organizations about other teams here in Pittsburgh is going to be a headline because you're a Pittsburgh Steeler. I think for him, man, being able to go to Chicago is going to be a lot less spotlight, a lot less everybody being so hyper reactive to everything that he would say or do on and off the field. So I think that helps him. I also think and I hope that this has this effect on him as well, that it's a wake-up call. So he can understand that just because you're drafted does not mean that you're going to play on that particular team forever. You have to live up to the expectations. You have to come to that full potential. And if not, you open yourself up to being vulnerable to them deciding, hey, is a second round draft pick worth more than what Chase can give me today? And that's ultimately what he opened himself up to because of some of the inconsistencies that he had on the field. I'm hoping for him, because all of us go through this, right? You get drafted by Team Deke, man, you swear up and down, man, I'm going to build my house here. I'm going to play my whole year, my whole career here. I'm never leaving. I'm going to be a Hall of Famer. They're going to put my jersey up in the rafters. And that first time you finally move on to a different team or you get cut or anything happens, it's like that wake-up call. I remember for me, leaving Buffalo. I'm like, bro, I would never leave Buffalo. Man, they love me up here. Until they didn't want to re-sign me. And I'm like, what? And now you got to go through that process. But then it wakes you up and it lets you understand that this is more of a business, right? And now you start understanding how you have to operate, how you have to prepare mentally, physically, and you take the job to another level, so to speak, right? And I'm hoping that for Chase, he will understand that, because it is very humbling, man. When you're traded, when you're released, when they don't want you in any capacity, that's a humbling experience. But for him, he could use this as an opportunity to help him understand, hey, the professional element of it. If there was ever any questions about your preparation, put them to bed. If there was ever any questions about your desire to play, put them to bed. If there's ever any questions about could you be a number one receiver, man, you're gonna have a great opportunity in Chicago. Marcus Goodwin, shout out to young Keys right there, young Goody. But it's like, man, that's one of their more consistent guys out there when he's healthy. I forgot the cat on the other Mooney, but I say he's another guy that's kind of like Claypool in the sense of potential talent, but hasn't really lived up to it consistently just yet in terms of what their expectations are. For Chase, he's going to have similar opportunity, man, to be the guy there. And you're playing with a mobile quarterback that has shown the one thing that he can do is extend plays, man. So hopefully for Chase, man, it does work out. But, you know, when I thought of it for him, I'm like, this could be a good situation as well. And then for us, man, to get a second round draft pick, I swear I did not think Chase was going to be worth a second round pick, just in the sense of not him as a positional player, but just him in his value alone. I'm like, AB didn't even give us that.
What happened to the CMC haul that the Steelers were asking for?
Hey, yo.
Multiple seconds?
Like, seriously, I'm like, bro, I had no clue that he was going to be worth that just because of the inconsistencies at that time. But I do think the big reason why this deal made so much sense for Chicago is you have a year and a half of him under the rookie contract still where you don't have to pay him. And with that, it's like, man, if he taps into that potential, great. But if he doesn't, then y'all can move on from him, you know? Yeah. And for us, it's like, man, shoot a second round pick for Chase right now. And it's a Chicago one. I get it. I definitely get it, man.
Do you still feel that way? Not being happy about the trade for the
correct.
Steelers.
I'm
what
good now.
Flip for you?
I'm good now. An hour later?
Just trading for William Jackson?
Yeah, because it reassured me that we're not on some like nonsense, man.
Well, hold on. So that goes hand in hand,
mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
Which is why I flipped on it too, because the report came out a little bit later, a tweet by Josina Anderson,
mm-hmm.
saying that
the
Steelers have had this trade on the docket for like 2 or 3 weeks, citing that Claypool may be a distraction behind the scenes and in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is the only explanation that makes sense to get rid of him. Combined with, if we go back to, I still don't think Claypool's value is going to go down that much in the offseason,
mm-hmm.
but this probably is his peak value to get a top 10 pick in the second round. So if you combine that with maybe the Steelers don't view him as a culture guy going forward, it was never going to be a fit. They were going to get rid of him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
All right, move on. Move on sooner rather than later then.
Yeah, and my thing, man, because I've heard the reports that was the case, and I've heard the reports that wasn't the case, and because I can't definitively say yes or no, either way with it, right? If it is valid, because with Chase and because of how his time was here, it does leave it up to question, because it's like it wouldn't be a surprise if it was the case, but at the same time, it wouldn't be a surprise if it wasn't the case. And I know
this isn't even rumors. This is stuff we're literally watching.
Yeah, that's
on
what I'm
games.
saying.
Some of the stuff he was doing on the sidelines.
So
even,
I'm like,
combined with the
I could
TikToks.
understand if that is truly the case. If it wasn't, all right, great. But if that was, I can understand. But the one thing that I do think is a benefit, if it was the case, is like you said, man, go ahead and do it now. Don't prolong this thing. You send a clear message if that is the case. If it wasn't the case, because I don't want it to be hey man, we picking on Chase because this reporting is not accurate. If this report isn't true though, then it's like, okay, I get it because of the value. Second round draft pick, a high second round draft pick as well for a receiver that has been inconsistent for us, but we know potentially in a year from now, or a couple of months from now when the offseason hits, could be wanting a contract and could
You don't want to deal with that.
rock that boat a little bit. I'm with you on that.